Philip Defranco.
I got patriotic goosebumps!
And honestly, I wish our candidates would start talking about things that actually matter. Sup, Nation? We are live at the second day of the Republican National Convention, or I guess for us it's like our third day. But as always, I'm Philip Defranco, and we also have Elliott Morgan and Meg Turney.
Jib shot, yes.
Yay!
Oh, I get excited every day. I don't know.
I love we both look surprised every time he says our names. Like,
yeah.
what?
I didn't know I was here. It's so exciting.
Oh, okay.
I just realized it.
So anything different today?
Well, it's sunny and it's nice.
Oh, it is.
There's a fair amount of white guys here, which was a shocker to me.
I'm not touching that.
White middle-class men. It's fantastic. No, it's a lot of fun.
Okay.
We had some exciting stuff. It's in the show, though. Don't want to spoil
It is in the show,
anything.
yeah. I don't want to ruin anything yet.
No
Because last night we did get flooded with your tweets, and you made good points. We could not get them all on air, so we're at the head of the show. We're going to do that right now. So we're going to start off with some gun tweets, starting with James Ray 50, who said yesterday, "Where do people get the idea that criminals follow the law? How would stricter gun laws affect a bad guy? Sean the Zombie." Oh, man. Just credibility. That's what I'm doing right now. I support the Second Amendment. Assault rifles, though, it would be nice to know why people want an AK-47. Flip360 says, "For whatever reasons, say the U.S. becomes a police nation and the citizens need to revolt. If assault rifles weren't legal, no use." It's then followed up with, "Please, the people must realize that our right to bear arms is not for us to protect ourselves from other people, but our government." And I'm surprised that really we only had one tweet on this, and that was Elliott Kozlik, who said, "Also, guns protect you from zombies. Yes, we in the UK have no accessible guns. Come Z-Day, we are screwed."
Okay, he's saying that like it's a joke, but that's a legit concern. No. If we do have a zombie apocalypse, we are going to need guns. And if it happens in the UK, only the criminals are going to have guns, and so only the criminals are going to survive, so we're going to be taken over by those zombies and criminals. Just throwing it out there.
If you've read Roger Maul's book on zombie survival, you'd know that guns are the worst thing you can use to protect yourself. If you're anywhere near a city, they're loud. You have to have ammo. They can jam. What if all you have is a shotgun and it jams? I mean, you can bap them on the head, but what if you're not ready for that?
If I have a choice between a stick and a gun and a zombie's coming after me, I'm going to choose the gun.
This is true. You know what? I'm down. I'm going to be with Elliott Morgan in the zombie apocalypse.
Right.
I'm not going to have a gun.
I love that that was the one comment you were like, we have to touch on this because it's true.
It's a serious concern. It's bound to happen. And that book that guy wrote, he's never actually been through a zombie apocalypse. Anyway, moving on.
I think next we have voter apathy, your tweets on voter apathy. First, we have, "People do not register because that is how they get jury duty." Is that true?
That's my understanding, which is one of the reasons I've hesitated so many times on actually registering to vote in California, because jury duty is horrible. Now, I don't know, I can't say 100%, but yeah.
I love it. Oh my god, this one's amazing. Possibly a strange question, but with Halo 4 launching on Election Day, will voter turnout be affected? I think it actually might, which is kind of sad. Do you? You don't think there's... No.
No. You can play. You can go and vote. It's like 20 minutes, and you can play more Halo. It's gonna be there. Don't worry.
You know that cognitively, but like on the day that it rolls around, you're probably gonna be like,
If Borderlands 2 was coming out on Election Day, I might not make it to the poll.
Wait, let's see. We have, what freedoms would you give up for security? That's another question we asked yesterday. And let's see, we have Agrol saying, "TSA is so strict, but it is reasonable. Imagine you let in a terrorist by being nice, and now it's all your fault." I'm going to let Meg. Instant reaction, because I know you're probably the most adamant.
I'm not adamant. I just think that we should have smart security features as opposed to a bunch of machines that are made by private organizations who don't actually protect us. So I'm all for security, just not for dumb security.
So then I guess this one might be aimed towards you then. TSA in the U.S. has a lower success rate than in Israel. They ask 3 questions there and observe your response. It's better than touching people. So yeah, they go for more of a profiling. Is that something that you would want?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if I were, maybe if I were a terrorist, I'd probably practice my answers to the question.
They're like, are you gonna blow up the plane?
Like when you come back from international travel, they ask you questions, and I feel nervous even though I have nothing to hide. I'm like, well, what did I travel for? It's personal. Like even though I have nothing to hide.
Well, I think it depends on where you've been. You know, certain places it's more likely. You know, but then you just kind of you think they would just go to someone that wouldn't fit that idea, that profile.
Yeah. You just find the least likely person to do it.
But they do have a much better record.
Yeah, well, maybe.
I don't know.
Sure.
Then we have Striped Crayon saying, "I think I've learned more from the PDS Lives than in the upcoming school year." I don't know if that's a compliment towards us or a bash towards your school. I don't know.
I can take both. We can take it as a compliment.
Then we have ABC News Wild saying, "Phil DeFranco can't stop watching." Oh!
so nice.
So sweet.
Later tonight, we are going to have more of you guys answering questions. So our question of the day right now is, what do you think about the elections last night? If you did not see them last night, we're going to be rolling through some of them. So make sure that you tweet us, leave comments down below, hashtag PDS Live. We're going to be watching and commenting back at you. But next up, I think we have voting, because voting can be complicated. We dedicated, I feel like, half of yesterday's show to it. So for that, we have SourceFed on breaking down how to vote.
She placed her hands on Juliana's breasts. Oh my. Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. So it's your first time, eh? Well, don't worry. I'm here to make sure everything goes smoothly. Are you comfortable? Good. Now let's watch this modern educational film all about voting for the first time. So you've turned 18, eh? Well, God bless America. Are you ready to vote? Well, it's a big decision, so make sure you've done your research. And guess what? Voting is easy.
Oh, can I vote too?
I'm sorry, little lady. If you're out voting, how else are the men who vote supposed to get their much-deserved dinners? Run along now. That pot roast isn't going to cook itself. Okay, let's not watch this film anymore. It's kind of dated.
Why don't they just cook the pot roast, huh? It's really not that hard at all.
Why isn't it shutting?
I don't want to make pudding! I want to be in politics!
Okay.
Why do I want to vote? Because I want to be able to marry a woman someday!
So, if you're 18 and you're a citizen of the United States of America, then you, my friend, are eligible to vote. Isn't that exciting? Now, as long as you're not currently in prison or on parole for conviction of a felony, like our own Joe Beretta, and have not been judged by a court to be mentally incompetent to register to vote, like Elliott Morgan, then you're golden. Well, how do you register to vote? Well, there's a number of ways. We're living in the future, ladies and gentlemen. A future where some states have allowed voters to register online without having to fill out and mail paper forms. Online voter registration is available in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Nevada, Oregon, Utah, and Washington. For everyone else, most .gov sites for your corresponding state will have a click to register to vote button where you can print out, fill out, and mail out the old-fashioned way. Some local businesses also have registration kiosks set up right outside. Deadlines for the last day to register to be able to vote is different for every state. Some states even allow you to register in person on election day, as long as you can provide proof of residency. We'll put some links in the description down below for you in case you weren't sure where to go. We'll also put a link to the nearest Arby's location so you can get your What's that? Okay, well, we're not doing the Arby's thing anymore. All right, fine, I got it. You don't have to flip me off. Look, I got the sandwich. Once you've filled out your registration form and mailed it off, you're all set. You should receive information on where to vote in the form of a pamphlet, with all the information on both parties, a sample ballot, and information on where to go to vote. And what do you do once you've located your local polling place? Well, we've got you covered with our very own Elliott Vote Master Morgan.
Nobody calls me that.
You shut up and show them how to vote. And that's it. The whole process takes less than 5 minutes, and then you get a fancy sticker that says something to the effect of, "I voted, so suck it." Depending on what state you're in. And then, ladies and gentlemen, fine citizens of this great nation, you have completed your duty as a member of the United States of America. Let's stand together. We should never forget how lucky we are to live in a place where we have the power to vote for who ends up running this great nation. We as free people with the power to decide, to choose to vote. And every vote counts. It's a powerful thing. And the choice is yours, America. The choice is yours. So make the right one. I'm talking, of course, about electing Mayor Richard Nixon. For he's What? He's dead? Oh, Whoa! I screwed that up. Please vote, but make sure you do plenty of research before you do. God bless America. I'm gonna get back to my book here. Larry's a mouse? I can't read.
I feel smarter and more stupid at the same time.
Nation, we had our first round of speeches last night. We had, let's see. We had some of our biggest speakers. We had former Senator and presidential candidate Rick Santorum, which you'll see right here.
My grandfather, like millions of other immigrants, didn't come here for some government guarantee of income equality or government benefits to take care of his family. In 1923, there were no government benefits for immigrants except one: freedom. Under President Obama, the dream of freedom and opportunity has become a nightmare of dependency, with almost half of America receiving some sort of government assistance. It's no surprise fewer and fewer Americans are achieving their dreams, and more parents are concerned their children won't realize theirs. The fact is that marriage is disappearing in places where government dependency is the highest. Most single mothers do a heroic work and an amazing job raising their children. But if America is going to succeed, we must stop the assault on marriage and the family in America today.
I'm not going to say this about any of the other people that spoke. He is the only person I just do not like at all.
Oh, yeah.
No. He sucks as much as a human being as I do at reading teleprompter.
Oh,
that's harsh, but true. No, what was your opinion?
I'm not the biggest fan of Rick Santorum. I remember during the primaries, I was like, man, I really hope he does not win under any circumstances. That being said, for all intents and purposes, I thought it was a pretty decent speech. It could have been a lot worse. Like, based on what everything Rick Santorum has said in the past, it could have been, like, flat out crazy. I think he brought up some interesting points. He brought up the whole dependency thing, which he, maybe elaborated on a little bit, but there's still a good point, that he made. So, I don't know. It could have been a lot worse, that's all I'm saying. I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I thought it was somewhat inspirational.
Okay.
I don't think our politicians should be based on like, well, that could have been a whole lot worse, so I'm not feeling so bad about it. I mean, that was some of the things, like, he misled the idea that half the country is dependent on the government is misleading.
There was something, someone tweeted about that he is on a Senate pension plan, and so he would be considered part of that half of America. I think the thing that really bothers me is this idea that marriage is being attacked.
Sure.
I don't see it that way. I see it as discrimination the other way, but that is just my opinion, and I hate seeing that horse get beaten.
Yeah, I think he definitely beat the horse. I think he could have probably focused on that a little more than he did, which is why I say, like, it could have been a lot worse. But as far as, like, the whole 49% thing goes, because he said, like, almost half or something like that, which I guess that includes, like, Social Security and Medicare, so it's not maybe the most accurate number. That being said, I think the correct number, where it's based on, like, your income, is something like 35%.
Right.
So you're still talking about over a third of the country. So while it might seem more, like, glamorous and flashy for him to say, oh, half the country receives some sort of aid, a third is still pretty bad.
No, that's rough.
But you have more people than ever in the history of America at or near the poverty line in this country. So it's not just that people are, like, getting rich off the government. I mean, they need WIC and things of that nature. I mean, they need these programs that are helping them out. It's not just people, just saying, like, oh, I'm going to rein in all these government dollars and I'm going to buy my Xbox.
35% of America needs the programs?
I think that there are programs like WIC in particular that let's debate. Let's have a fist fight.
No,
I think that I definitely believe that there are bloats in the system, and I think that there are people who probably could do without that are relying on it. But I think there are absolutely programs that people need, especially WIC, that are being threatened that people need. They're not happy to take food stamps.
I don't think anybody's arguing that there are people out there that need these programs. I think the overall message, however, is that we have this idea of the American dream, which it sounds really cheesy, especially when he talks about it, because he sounds cheesy no matter what he says. But there is the idea of the American dream where you can come from nothing and get it, and you don't necessarily need government help. Some people do, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, everyone should be striving to do it without that.
I agree. I agree to that, for sure. I completely agree with that.
Yeah. No, I agree with the economy. I'm going to still say I think he's a jerk-off. Another speaker tonight we had was former Democrat and new Republican Archer Davis. He's becoming a bit of a celebrity since he switched over to the Republican Party, and here is Davis speaking last night.
Some of you may know the last time I spoke at a convention, it turned out I was in the wrong place. So Tampa, my fellow Republicans, thank you for welcoming me where I belong. This very night, you nominated the most experienced executive to seek the presidency in 60 years in Mitt Romney. He has no illusions about what makes America great. He doesn't confuse the presidency with celebrity or loftiness with leadership. What a difference 4 years makes. Maybe we should have known that night in Denver that things that began with styrofoam, Greek columns, and artificial smoke typically don't end well. Who knew that when asked? Could government conceivably impose a federal mandate requiring middle-class Americans to buy health insurance, whether they could afford it or not, that the Obama answer would be, yes, we can. John Kennedy asked us what we could do for America. This Democratic Party asked, what can government give you?
So we have Art. I don't know. What do you think? I'm going to let you jump on it first.
I mean, he seems like a very nice guy.
He does.
I don't know. I mean, I think his whole thing is was a Democrat, now he's a Republican. Okay.
That was his whole thing.
You know, good for him. I think if it was a Republican that became a Democrat, also great.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll hear that next week. But I just think that the idea that the point he made about healthcare, about, oh, we're forcing Americans, whether they can afford it or not, to buy healthcare. I mean, there's a problem when people are sick and they can't afford to get better and there's nothing for them to do. We're going to be talking about it a little later in the show with Planned Parenthood. I think that there is an issue when people are getting cancer, when they could have had preventative care that could keep them from having those expensive medical bills, and we're not doing anything to help those people.
Yeah, I found it interesting because I mean, when he was a Democrat, he voted against the health care bill twice. Yeah. You know, and I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. You know, you have a Democrat. It's more of a bigger tent idea. It's like, oh, we can have different ideas, but you know, overall we're like the same team. And now we switched, and yeah, he's like, did you guys know? I used to be a Democrat.
Have you heard?
But no, I mean, I have nothing bad to say about him. I thought it was really well delivered.
On the note of the healthcare thing, I don't really know where I stand on the issue, but I do know that when I look at both sides of the argument, one side of the argument, when it comes to, especially it seems like the Republican side, most of it flies directly over my head, because they're like, oh, there's this, and there's this, and there's this, and there's like all these terms that get thrown around. I'm like, okay, that sounds complicated. What I don't hear from the Republican Party is, well, we just want sick people to die. And I feel like when it comes to Democrats, they're like, don't you get it? Like, sick people need health care. And I think that's the case. I just have a hard time believing that Republicans are these evil people that are out to get sick people.
Go for it.
Hey! How you doing? So the thing is, there are so many people in this nation who can't afford healthcare who, if they just had some sort, I would hate to say the word public option because I might get thrown off the stage, but public option to have preventative healthcare, they wouldn't be getting these huge monumental bills that we're all paying as taxpayers. We're paying for those people to go to the emergency room, and then eventually some of them die for things that could have easily been fixed or treated if only they'd had access to affordable healthcare. I just don't think that the public option was a dirty word because we weren't outdoing private insurance. We were just giving people a chance to get healthcare that they could afford. I mean, that is a big problem in this country when we pay the most into healthcare and we still have super sick people who are dying over things that could be prevented.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's problems and they need to be fixed. If there's no money to fix the problem, how do you fix the problem with no money to fix the problem?
I think there's a lot of places where you can get the money to fix the problem in this healthcare system.
I think we should go like this more often.
Yeah, I'm totally down
like
to do this hand thing again. No, I think there's places to make reforms and to make things smarter. I think there are a lot of other countries that do it a lot better that we could learn from.
It is, I mean, it is easier to say when you look out and like, oh, they have this, but then you don't really take the deep dive. I don't think a lot of people do take the deep dive in when you're like, oh yeah, you can have a baby and it's all fine, but it's in their taxes.
Sure.
It's in their taxes. I know that coming from a family that we have PKD, we have pre-existing conditions. Health insurance was a bitch. It was terrible.
Yeah, it's awful.
But at the same time, I do understand the idea. It feels like, oh, you know, I'm putting into this thing, and I'm having to. I feel almost like you're getting drugged down.
Yeah, it's depressing for me because in a perfect world,
you can see that.
Yeah, I want health care for everyone. Like universal health care, of course. There's a million things that I want and that I do believe are needed. It's just if someone comes up to me, if it's an economist or whatever, and they come up and they say there's no money for it, then it's like a rock and a hard place. And I just don't like when an entire political party is painted as like these pitchfork-carrying psychopaths who just want to kill everybody.
I don't think I'm trying to say that they want to kill anybody. I'm just saying that they want to throw money at things that don't need money thrown at them when they could be saving people's lives. I mean, there are mothers and daughters and sons and fathers and grandfathers who are all dead because they haven't had a chance to get any affordable health care, and that's ridiculous that we live in a country where, freedom. Also, if you get sick and you can afford it, fuck you, you're going to die.
I think, okay, so if you care about it, tweet us. Let us know, hashtag PDS Live. We're going to move on now to Ann Romney, wife of Mitt Romney. She came onto the stage last night to show the more personal side of our presidential candidate.
I want to talk to you tonight, not about politics and not about party. And while there are many important issues we'll hear discussed in this convention and throughout this campaign, tonight, I want to talk to you from my heart about our hearts. Tonight, I want to talk to you about love. That is where this boy I met at a high school dance comes in. His name is Mitt Romney, and you should really get to know him. I could tell you why I fell in love with him. He was tall, laughed a lot. He was nervous. Girls like that. It shows a guy's a little intimidated. He was nice to my parents, but he was also really glad when they weren't around. I'm not sure if men really understand this, but I don't think there's a woman in America who really expects her life to be easy. In our own ways, we all know better. You know what? And that's fine. We don't want easy.
Ann Romney. Last night, the big thing was, did she come off real, relatable, or just not at all? People, I mentioned it this morning, people had vastly different opinions. What do you guys think?
I thought it was funny that she was, I want to talk about love, because that's what ladies like. They like love. And then Christie came in and was like, screw love, let's talk about truth. Like, they had a completely differing, he literally was like, we don't need love, and like totally put her down. But I agree. I thought she came off as like, oh, I know a man out there who's working extra hours for his son, so he can provide. And it's like, but you don't know anything about.
Ooh, so you don't think she came off genuine?
No, not at all.
Relatable in any way?
Nope.
No. You didn't think so either?
No. I mean, yeah, it might be that she's not used to speaking publicly or something, but yeah, I mean, she doesn't come off warm in any way.
Well, I think that's a big thing. I mean, it can be terrifying.
Oh, that's true. I do understand that.
I mean, because, this morning I was just asking people, why is she relatable? And when it came down to it, it seemed like family, faith, she has 5 kids, she has MS, and she had breast cancer. Right? I mean, that's a lot of stuff. But then people would argue, well, she has a lot of money. She has a nanny. She's never had to worry about health insurance. How does she relate to me? And so that I found that really, really interesting. I don't know.
I didn't know she was. I didn't know about the MS and the breast cancer.
Yeah,
I learned that because I've never given a second thought to Ann Romney or Mitt Romney, really, if we're being honest. But yeah, I had no idea about that. So that did make her seem more genuine. I mean, I know that if somebody I knew were to go through something like that, it would be horrible. And I don't care if I was a billionaire and something like that happened, it would be extremely difficult. Right. That being said, no, she does not. I don't relate to her in any.
Right. But I mean, at the same time, I was thinking this morning, I was like, well, I don't relate to Michelle Obama either, but also, would it matter?
Yeah.
I was saying to you yesterday, I was like, I would elect a guy that punched babies as long as his policies were, made the country better.
Especially if they were whiny babies.
Terrible
they
babies.
Deserved it. No, but I agree that, she might have been nervous. There were some times that you could tell she was nervous, and I did want to like her because you do feel bad for the spouse. They're not the one running, and they're being put on the end of the limelight the same way. But there were just some things where she'd be like, I know, we're all sad and we're all struggling. I love California! Like, she would just, celebrate in the middle, like, come on, I was trying to follow you there.
But then, of course, we had our headliner and the big name for the night, New Jersey Governor Christie, seen here.
Have decided it's more important to be popular, to say and do what's easy, and say yes rather than to say no, when no is what is required. We are demanding that our leaders stop tearing each other down and work together to take action on the big things facing America. Tonight, we are going to do what my mother taught me. Tonight, we're going to choose respect over love. We're not afraid. We are not afraid. We're taking our country back because we are the great-grandchildren of the men and women who broke their backs in the name of American ingenuity, the grandchildren of the greatest generation, the sons and daughters of immigrants, the brothers and sisters of everyday heroes, the neighbors of entrepreneurs and firefighters, teachers and farmers, veterans and factory workers, and everyone in between who shows up not just on the big days or the good days, but on the bad days and the hard days, each and every day, all 365 of them. You see, we are the United States of America. I know Mitt Romney, and Mitt Romney will tell us the hard truths we need to hear to put us back on a path to growth and create good-paying private sector jobs again in America. Mitt Romney will tell us the hard truths we need to hear to end the torrent of debt that is compromising our future and burying our economy. Mitt Romney will tell us the hard truths we need to hear to end the debacle of putting the world's greatest healthcare system in the hands of federal bureaucrats and putting those bureaucrats between an American citizen and her doctor. I know we can be the men and women our country calls on us to be tonight. I believe in America and her history, and there's only one thing missing now: leadership. It takes leadership that you don't get from reading a poll. You see, Mr. President, real leaders don't follow polls. Real leaders change polls.
Christie, 2016. I mean, Mitt Romney, 2012. I mean, where are we? Where are we at? So yeah,
Christie took him. It was said 3/4 of the speech to mention Mitt. And then someone tweeted, and after looking at that, it really did look like Mitt Romney was looking at him like a member of Destiny's Child looks like at Beyonce.
Yeah.
Oh, they just know.
Oh no!
He
you
knew.
gonna mention me now? Oh, you gonna mention me now?
Also,
okay.
did you see Ann Romney's clap? Because this also didn't make her relatable.
Oh.
She literally was doing like the craziest.
No, she thought she was by herself, and she was like, yes.
No, it was like a bitch, you did not slow clap. It totally was. Go look at it.
Opinion on Chris Christie.
I like the guy. I think he's hilarious.
I
don't know anything about his politics, but I feel like he'd be fun to hang out with, and I feel isn't that how we base our president?
Yeah, right.
It's all on how cool they are.
I want to hang out with Obama.
No, I think he just seems like a cool guy. He's staying near where we are, and at our hotel. And we're waiting for a cab this morning. And all of a sudden, there's like one reporter out there, and then Chris Christie comes out, and he's like, and he's got like his whole crew of people, and there's like this one reporter, and he's like, "Hey, what's your favorite Bruce Springsteen song?" And Chris Christie's like, "Oh, no questions, ha ha ha," and then like walks on.
Oh
like,
no, he
seems like a jolly guy.
No questions. Like he just like balled out with his no questions. He like the poor guy. The reporter like held the stick out like while he was in the car like waiting for him to answer, and then drove away, and the reporter went.
So opinion other than him shunning the reporter?
The guy like told him it was going to be a softball. What's your favorite Bruce Springsteen song? And he waited out there for like 20 minutes.
Chris Christie goes, no questions, and then the guy asked a question, and Chris Christie was like,
he'd already asked.
Not going to answer the question.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm not going to base my opinion on that guy based on him walking out of a hotel.
Maybe I'm a little sensitive about people not answering questions. We'll find out about it today.
I think if Mitt Romney loses, that guy is jumping on a weight plan, and he's going presidential track.
Totally.
I feel like it.
I don't know that I could vote for Chris Christie, but I do know that I could hang out with him. And I think that's
so.
great.
Chris, if you want, Elliott Morgan.
You know, if you're not busy,
he's a good time.
Great. Yeah.
And that's just a small selection from tonight's speeches, or last night's speeches, because our country is so influential in the world. People seem to care. This is a terrible script right now. Next up, we have Meg talking about ladies.
That's such a solid intro. Thanks, Phil. All right, so tonight, it's right. I want to talk about ladies, soft, sensual ladies. Believe it or not, I am a lady. I know, surprise. And ladies' rights matter to me. So recently, the Republican Party has been accused of waging a war on women. Mitt Romney has stated that he'll cut all federal funding to Planned Parenthood, a service that provides affordable health care to low-income women. Now, Mitt's supporters claim that they're uncomfortable supporting abortion services, but only 3% of Planned Parenthood's funding actually goes to abortion, and there's already a federal law in the books forbidding funds from being used for that. The overwhelming majority of federal funding for Planned Parenthood actually goes to provide affordable health care for low-income women, like I said. Women who are normally forced to forego their annual exams due to lack of insurance. Now, Mitt's wife, Ann, is actually a breast cancer survivor, as we mentioned, and she, of all people, should know how important it is for women to see a doctor each and every year, not just when they can afford it or when they happen to have a job that covers it. They also provide contraceptive and sexual health knowledge. Now, some detractors have said they're not willing to provide women with birth control, and you'll recall that Sandra Fluke was famously called a slut for asserting that all women should have access to affordable birth control. Birth control isn't just about preventing unwanted pregnancies, though. Many women who aren't even sexually active or who are gay take it to prevent recurrent ovarian cysts and to help treat cervical health issues. Another hot-button issue for the Republican Party as of late has been rape. Obviously, we've all heard Todd Aiken's ignorant comments on the subject, but he's not the only one who has no idea what he's talking about. Tom Smith, a Senate homeful from Pennsylvania, who we mentioned last night, recently stated that he felt his daughter having a baby out of wedlock was the same as her having a baby as a result of having been raped. Mitt's own running mate, Paul Ryan, co-authored a bill last year with his good buddy Todd Akin that outlawed all abortion except in the cases of forcible rape. Please, for a second, imagine you're a woman who's just been raped under a Paul Ryan administration and you've become pregnant. Now you've got to submit to an investigation into whether or not your rape was violent or forcible enough to have an abortion performed. It's absurd. I just don't understand how anyone, especially any woman, could be okay with these policies. So I hit the floor today in order to find out what real Republican women thought about these issues. Hey everyone, I'm here on the floor of the Republican National Convention. We came today to talk to some Republican women about being in a party that supposedly has a war on women. It didn't go so well for us. We asked no less than 75 women to stop and talk to us. Nobody seems to want to talk to us. The thing is, I don't fight, I don't want to argue, I don't want to make fun of anyone. I really wanted to know how hard it is to be in a party that's supposedly taking on women's issues in, you know, a backwards kind of way. So I only got one out of the 75 to talk to us. Her name is Janet. Let's take a look at what she had to say. Hey guys, I'm here with Janet Liam-Bruno. Janet, first of all, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thanks for having me.
So today my piece is about women in the Republican Party, and we've been hearing a lot lately about this war on women. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's interesting term actually, because it seems to be one that's made up. It's an imaginary, you know, the war on women. They'll take a couple of things out of, you know, different bills or talk on some of the social issues, and they'll take a little bit, and they will blow it out of proportion, and they'll take one little bit of it and then kind of run their story on that one thing, and it kind of just becomes a snowball effect. And then all of a sudden you turn the news on and you see something and you're like, you don't know where it came from.
So obviously we've all heard about Todd Akin's comments about legitimate rape. Is that something that frustrates you? How do you feel about when you hear something like that?
I mean, beyond. I mean, it really, you know, it really bothers me when they will base Republicans on one comment.
So you don't feel, as a Republican woman, that it's hard to be a woman in the Republican Party because you don't feel like they're trying to take any rights away from you? Or
I don't, because I listen to the issues and I kind of see the context of some of these bills, and you can't judge Mitt Romney as being against women because a lot of the things that he's done, just that the facts aren't there that prove that. So,
well, cool. Thank you so much for
talking to us.
Yeah, it was great
to talk to you guys. All right.
So as you can see, we had a bit of a hard time getting real Republican women to talk to us. We even had one man intervene when we were asking his wife if she'd like to be interviewed and say, my wife's not going to talk to you. Then when we pointed to another woman and said maybe we should ask her, he said, no, she's Puerto Rican. She talks like a Puerto Rican. I'm not kidding. That really happened. I have to say I'm really disappointed. I didn't want to grill anyone. I was happy to tell them the questions I was going to ask in advance. I wanted to hear what they had to say, but they apparently weren't willing to tell their side of the story. Listen, sweeping issues like this under the rug or pretending that they don't exist doesn't make them any better. This isn't about arguing. This is about learning. And I hope no matter what side of this issue you're at home, you're here and you're open to hearing about it from all sides.
Yay, Meg Turney. Thank you. No, I was excited for that video because I feel like it's something Elliott said too. It's like people in the Republican Party, they're treated like they're like these random, like, just like, yeah, I'm crazy, but this has really shown, me especially, that there are a lot of really normal, smart, intelligent people.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as we're at the RNC, we've got some major names in the Republican Party around here. Throughout history, we've seen plenty of genuinely popular Republicans. Some you might not even know are Republicans. So to fix that, SourceFed has a list of the most badass Republicans.
Hello, friends! In the spirit of the upcoming Republican National Convention, we bring you SourceFed's 10 most badass Republicans in history and stuff. Don't worry, Democrats, you're next. Just stand safely and securely in the middle ground here, folks. Cool? We good?
Here, not here. Right here. Okay, it's time to get all badass with some badass Republicans. Badass.
Number 10, Charlton Heston. This man was a true badass. He was a U.S. Army Air Force aerial gunner in World War II. He played Moses, he fought damn dirty apes, and he was the president of the National Rifle Association from 1998 to 2003. Where is he now? He's dead. In hot lady heaven with all the dead hot gun-toting bitches.
Number 9, Ulysses S. Grant. He was the 18th president of the United States. He led the North to victory in the Civil War as the general-in-chief, was an aggressive leader who took no prisoners. He also fought super hard against the KKK, violence and riots and stuff. That's pretty cool. And he could handle his liquor.
Yeah. Number 8, Theodore Teddy Roosevelt. Dude was a nerd who had asthma, but he started the Rough Riders.
The black dudes on four-wheelers?
No, the awesome historical cowboy ones. Also, he's credited with having had the most influence over the creation of national parks and national forests in the U.S. Also, the Panama Canal. now. Also, he carried a big stick. You dig?
I do. Number 7, Dwight Eisenhower. He started NASA mainly as a way to disempower the U.S. military. And he knew a thing or two about the military because he was the lead badass general in World War II. Because of his badass choices, we've got a rover on Mars.
Yeah.
Way to go, Howie.
You did it. Number 6, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Republican. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I had trouble finding any specifically significant Republican Party-related accomplishments, but he's a badass because he was the Terminator.
And he killed the Predator. And he had a baby. Number 5, Chuck Norris, because he's a badass. And the story is about Republican badasses, isn't it? And you really don't get any more badass than Chuck, except it wasn't that badass to support the Boy Scouts' anti-gay policies. That's not badass at all. But we can forgive you because you know what is badass? Standing up for your beliefs.
Yeah, that's pretty badass. Number 4, Ronald Bamf Reagan, because he was an actor, and then he was all, nah, f it, I want to be president now. And then he did become the president. He also succeeded in securing his legislative agenda when no other president before him was able to do it for nearly 20 years.
He also took a bullet.
That's pretty badass.
Number 3, John McCain. Dude was hit with the charges of not being a real Arizonian right off the bat. His response, here's a quote for you. Listen, pal, I spent 22 years in the Navy. We in the military service tend to move a lot. I wish I could have had the luxury like you of growing up and living and spending my entire life in a nice place like the 1st District of Arizona. But I was doing other things. When I think about it now, the place I lived longest in my life was Hanoi.
What does he mean when he says Hanoi, Jeff?
Shut up. He means he was shot down over Vietnam and was tortured there for 4 years. Badass.
Oh. Number deuce, James Earl Jones. Do I even have to say why he's a badass? Okay, I'll say it. Dude was the voice of Darth Vader. His voice filled my nightmares with bedwetting terror, and to this day will always be the voice of pure evil that was later turned good.
He was also worthy of walking into the corn at the end of Field of Dreams. And finally, number 1, Abraham Lincoln. Dude freed the slaves.
And according to his IMDb, dude's a vampire hunter. Badass. And so that's our top 10 list for the most badass Republicans.
Nation, next up, we snagged ourselves a Baldwin, or rather, Elliott Morgan did. He had a talk with Steven Baldwin, a very vocal and motivated Republican, who's here at the RNC. Here's the video on that now.
Morgan here, and I'm with Steven Baldwin. Steven, how's your day going?
It's going very well. I'm already getting kooky with you guys over here.
We're kooky. We're a kooky bunch.
I clipped my microphone to my credential.
Isn't that crazy?
Is that wild?
That's nuts. So you're here. We're here at the RNC. I probably could guess on my own, but I'm going to ask anyway. Who are you voting for in this election? It's a tough one. Tough question.
I'm voting for the guys that can really fix the economy.
The economy. Okay, so
Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan.
Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan. So is that your main focus with this? Is that why you're voting for them? Is there any other reason that you're voting for Romney over the incumbent president?
You mean like because I hate Obama?
I mean, you know.
Just kidding. I don't hate Obama.
Good.
I pray for him every day.
Do you?
Anyway, but to answer your question, I'm here because, this is an important convention, and I believe that most Americans really, the regular Joe everyday people, don't understand the threat that is happening with our economy. So I'm here to just try to say the guys that, in my opinion, and if you do your homework, you'll learn very quickly, I think Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan are two guys that absolutely have the ability to get the economy back on track.
What is your take on the Occupy Wall Street and all the protesters and the people that are out there freaking out over all of this?
I think what makes America great is everybody's has the ability to have an opinion and say and do what they want within reason, and then become a 1%er if they want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, yes, within the 1% there are people that are making tons of money that are trying to get over on others and take advantage and do wrong. But there's lots of 1%ers that are doing good stuff. Bill Gates is a 1%er.
He's good people.
Okay? He's found a cure almost for malaria.
And he's building a new toilet. I don't know if you know that or not. He's funding a project.
And he's found a cure for malaria.
With Mitt Romney being a Mormon, does that at all factor into the voting process for you at all?
Not for me at all.
Okay, no. That's wonderful.
For me, we got to get out of this whole business of pointing fingers and throwing stones and being worried about what everybody's faith is. I mean, obviously, you want to have your politicians in particular be accountable. So,
sure.
If I'm a Satanist,
you want good people.
I won't be voting for any Satanists anytime soon. But Mitt Romney, super smart guy, super successful, and wonderful family man.
So last but not least, you are here at the RNC. A lot of it is a big party. If there was any politician that you could party with, hang out with, who would it be? Any at all?
Well, I debated him on CNN about the legalization of marijuana, and I'm going to say it right here, people. Ron Paul. I want to party with you, cowboy.
Do you like Ron Paul?
I love Ron Paul. He's kooky.
I don't know how you can not love Ron Paul.
But I love him.
I think he sounds like a bird when he starts like getting really excited.
Yeah, but could you imagine him like after half a bottle of tequila?
Oh, totally. Well, he sounds like he's always on tequila all the time. All right, perfect. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks for joining us.
You got it.
Okay, Steven Baldwin is the man. All right, so what if I probably disagree with him on most social issues? Okay, so what if he completely dodged my question about women's rights and dove straight into plugging his film? So what if he holds a fervent passion for Mitt Romney and I literally get melatonin drowsy when I stare at that sucker? For that matter, so what if I differ from you in my opinions, okay? This is again, opinion. Okay, just hear me out. At this moment, I am representing kind of a more conservative mindset, okay, but I'm really more of a libertarian, but not entirely, but mostly. But, okay, why do you care? Why do I care what category I most easily fall into? I think everyone should be allowed to get married, and they should be able to smoke a harmless plant if they're of age, own guns, keep the money they earn, and I have all these little opinions, and for some reason, sometimes people want to know my opinion. If they agree with me, they say they like me. And if they disagree with me, all of a sudden they don't like me. But there are so many better reasons to not like me besides my political opinions. Take, for instance, my bad breath, my lackluster driving skills, my exhausting sarcasm, my tone-deaf singing, the weird way I wipe my face, it's like this, Lee Newton pointed that out, my abundance of obnoxious skinny ties, or my ever-loving frickin' Adam's apple. All I'm saying is that if we're going to hate each other, let's not do it over politics. It gets old. Last night, 2 people were ejected from the convention because they threw peanuts at an African-American camerawoman and said, "This is how we feed animals." I don't give a crap what those guys' stances are. I do not like them. I would go so far as to say that they disgust me, and I hate everything that they stand for. To know that happened feet from where I'm sitting right now is extremely depressing. Steven Baldwin did not give me a reason to not like him. I touched on this last night, and I'm going to mention it again because it's important to me. Conservatives can be really awful, and so can liberals. But here, when people get so excited about stances, and then you combine groupthink with an underdog mentality, it gets dangerous. You get a lot of ignorance, and you get a lot of hatred. So I'll say now that no, I am not the most politically knowledgeable person, but I am knowledgeable enough to know that people need to be nice to each other. So vote for nice. Seriously. See, that was me telling you to be nice, but in a mean way. That's meta. Okay, well, that's not what meta means. That's it's not sarcasm. That's irony. Irony. Nailed it. It's irony. That's what it is. It's a form of, it's humor. I'm done.
All I got from that was Steven Baldwin.
Steven Baldwin is funny.
In Biodome and The Usual Suspects.
And Half-Baked.
Thank you for that.
Next up, I think we have The Nation Speaks. You guys have been tweeting all night. We've been reading them off camera. And we bring... Yeah? I think you guys have the tweets. We're going to be bringing the best and some of the worst because you guys have been using the hashtag PDS Live. If you want to try and sneak in now, keep doing it. But, yeah. I'm going to say Elliott first.
Oh, okay. I don't know what I'm about to read, but here it goes.
Go for it.
Borrowitt's report says maybe Ann Romney likes Mitt Romney, or maybe Ann Romney likes Mitt more than we do because she's known him for 50 years. That's a good point.
Zing.
Yeah.
Ooh,
she's known him for a while.
You know, on the flip side of that, Aitwan says, I like Ann Romney. I'm sorry. She has a polite sincerity that strikes positive with me. I'm sorry she's married to a bad robot.
Oh. So you like Ann, don't like the guy.
Don't like the Mitt.
All right,
so
that's interesting.
a lot of people bring up the robot thing. Has anybody considered that maybe he is a robot, but that's okay?
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
AI for president?
It goes back to that baby punching thing. Maybe he's a baby punching robot, but he happens to be able to fix the country. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying maybe.
Like an iRobot? I would only be okay with the robot if it couldn't hurt me.
He has 3 rules. Don't spend money on things you can't afford.
Boom.
That's all 3 rules?
Mm-hmm. That was all 3.
Let's see. Meg, what do you have?
Christie accepts the nomination in place of Mitt Romney, who was not present to accept it. RNC, hashtag RNC, hashtag GOP 2012 from Politico News.
Political News.
All right. So, and then moving on, Pam Olson says, it was great to talk with Rick Santorum and thank him for standing for faith, life, and traditional marriage. Hashtag RNC 2012. So, yeah, I think it's interesting that Rick Santorum did, despite all of the other Republicans only sticking to economy. Of course, Rick Santorum gets up, and I did think it was an inspirational speech, but he was the one guy that, actually dove into the social issues.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to be nice. I mean, I think you were right earlier in that it could have been worse.
Sure.
Right? Maybe they made him cut the speech where, he was like, but really, back to those gays.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Seriously.
It could have fit in his speech, though. We should look at the fact that he could have been like, the gays. And it would have fit right in with his speech.
But it is a big thing, I think, for me, because the social issues, it's the one thing that I feel like alienates me from a lot of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think when you say libertarian,
I feel like this is like me realizing what I am, and it feels like it is slowly going towards libertarian. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. And I also feel like it says something when the majority of the Republican Party is kind of, they're not saying that outright, their platform and everything is still very socially conservative, but in practice, all around here, it's like economy, economy, economy. Don't talk about the social issues. Like, that's not cool. They're already losing cool points, and I don't know if that's them, like, maybe realizing that they need to back off on some of those things, or if it's just them trying to cover it up because they know it's not popular right now.
No, I think my opinion is that they're covering it up because they know it's not popular, but those social issues are going to be, like I've said on all the other shows, the ones that affect our day-to-day lives. Whether or not you can marry someone, whether or not if you get raped you're going to have access to abortion services or affordable birth control or health care as a low-income woman.
You know what? Actually, that was one thing in the speeches, even though it might not have been intended to, because of the recent news, every time they were like, where Ann Romney was like, "I love you, women." I was like, that's an Oprah moment, but like, we're not getting free stuff.
Yeah.
And then when Rick Santorum was like, "Single mothers," and I was like,
yeah, they've done a lot of like, "We like you, women."
Before.
Yeah. No, they've done a lot of that. And Christie said something about like the government should be able to tell a U.S. citizen she can keep what she earns or something like that. He used "she" when he could have used "he," and I was like, I feel like that's conscious.
I will say I would rather somebody like Rick Santorum, if he feels passionately about that, I would rather he at least say he feels passionate about it. Like, I don't like the idea of the Republicans still standing for all of these things, but not, like, owning up to them.
I agree.
I understand why they don't. I'd just be nice.
On a fun topic, Joseph P. Scannell says, at Philly D, what are your thoughts on the president's at Reddit AMA today? Gimmicky, informative, predictable, mavericky?
So I saw that it had started. He crashed Reddit.
Yeah, he broke
which
Reddit.
I was like, man, you don't even need to agree with like ACTA or SOPA. Just go one site to the next, doing AMAs. Just crash the whole internet.
But no, I haven't read it yet. I know that I'm going to watch the speeches tonight and kind of read the AMA in between. I want to see. I mean, he's been a very socially connected president. So
Democrats are always better about being like, hey, got kids, young ones, what do you think? And the Republicans are always like 10 steps behind on that. So I think it's good that he's doing stuff like that. All right, so this is from Terry O'Neill, who says, I love what at Philly D and at YouTube are doing at the RNC with PDS Live. Phil is taking his career to a whole new level. Power to the interwebs. Okay, moving on. And then the Matt Hogan says, at Philly D, looking good, man, without the tie. More casual and relaxed, unlike the typical news anchor who overhypes the news.
Yeah, well, I partied with Christie last night. We had
you had your fight?
Yeah, and it's not tying. No, I feel bad. I felt bad because I actually liked Chris Christie's speech last night, especially. I'm a huge mama's boy. So when he was like, my strong mother, I was like, yeah, Chris Christie. I get what you're saying.
It also helps that he looks like a grown baby.
He does. He does look like a giant, the biggest baby ever.
Look at him. Yeah.
Oh my god.
And then finally we have Mia is a nerd who says hashtag PDS Live. I like the key points of Ann Romney's speech, the love and family values, but otherwise I didn't really care for it.
Yeah.
Family.
I agree with that.
Family and
faith. I think that's it, unless we have an amazing one.
I think an amazing one to end on is Violent Tide says, hashtag PDS Live, yes, I love listening to a debate with the real facts, not mindless mudslinging. Thank you, Philly D.
I'm not mudslinging, I'm mindless.
I'm mindless. I will definitely. I will totally own up to that.
But I think that wraps it up for The Nation Speaks. Don't stop tweeting us. Leave comments on everything, things and stuff and words. We're going to keep an eye on it. But, yeah. Nation, I think that's it for the show tonight. At the RNC, we've got more speeches. If you blinked, you might have missed Ron Paul's video, all 89 seconds of it. Not long after that, his son Rand spoke. And then we have Condoleezza Rice tonight, former Secretary of State, who for a brief time was thought to be a possible VP pick. Then we'll have Paul Ryan himself, Mitt Romney's running mate, and Congressman of Wisconsin. He'll be making the final remarks of the night with the theme, We Can Change It. It seems clear that they're going towards this whole anti-Obama, what he did in 2008 thing. But of course, guys, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
I'm not talking to them. I want another jib shot. Jib shot? Oh, look at those beautiful people. It's not. Oh, whatever. I don't care.
So nice.
The main point. I love your faces. My name's Philip DeFranco. Words and stuff. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll still be here. I promise. Jib shot. Mean thing towards Meg.
Got in there? Just Meg.